of our members are involved. Oh, that was, for us, that was a week.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here on this very sacred occasion. You know, we're here to celebrate Robert's life. It doesn't feel like it, but it's kind of nice that we can talk about celebrating a person's life, even though we're sad that he's not with us any longer. I'm Reverend W. Harriet, and it's an honor for me to be here this afternoon. One of the first things we're going to do is do military honors, because Robert was in the Merchant Marines and in the Army, World War II and Korean War. And it's always a wonderful thing that we honor the sacrifice that people make when they've been in the service, and Robert's no exception. And we never know what the sacrifice has been, because most of them never talk about it. And they did a lot for us. And he did a lot for me by doing that as well. So we're going to have military honors now, and the corporal here will give us some instruction about what we're going to do for honors. Corporal?
Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow soldier and I are here today to conduct final military honors for a fallen comrade. Today's honors will consist of the playing of taps and the folding and presentation of the flag. During the playing of taps, any current and former service members may render the proper hand salute. Conclusion of taps, you may be seated for the folding and presentation of the flag. This time, I want to have military honors.
But as we come today, as I said earlier, we're here to celebrate Robert's life. And I don't know, when I was growing up, probably for you too, we never talked about celebrating someone's life when we went to a funeral or memorial service. But we are here to celebrate his life. And it was a long life, not as long as we wanted it. It never is. We always want one more day or one more week or one more month. But as we come together, it's important to think about the fact that, you know, we're all on a journey. And the journey that we take, we connect with a lot of very special people. Sometimes we connect with not so nice people, but it's the special people that become a part of our lives. And they help to change who we are. They help to transform who we are. And as a result, they leave a handprint on our hearts. And that's why all of you have gathered today, because Robert left his handprint on all of your hearts. When you think about all the billions of people in the world, you got to connect with Robert. You know? And so this is a special time that we take to remember him, to remember the person that he was, and he continues to be, because you know we're not our bodies. We're our spirit, we're our soul, and that's how we connect with one another. And our bodies get tired, they can no longer sustain us, and so our spirit goes on its journey. And so we are here to remember all the things that he found enjoyable and rewarding in this life, and the stories that you remember of his journey with him. The second reason I think we come together is to honor him, to honor his character, his integrity, his commitment to his family, to his friends, to his work and to his life, and to recognize that good heart and the helping hand that he always extended to others. I loved it when Linda explained it, that he had an intuitive generosity. He knew what you needed before you did, and he was there to give it to you or make it happen for you. And the other thing that we come together, when I say celebrate, we celebrate everything that earned him the love and the admiration of all of you, his family and his friends. But it's a very sacred time that we take to say to God, God, thank you. Thank you for giving Robert to us as a son and a brother and a husband and a father and a grandfather, a friend, a neighbor, co-worker, you know, all the roles that we all play. We're here to say to God, thank you. And most important, I really believe Robert's spirit is with us today. We're here to say to Robert, thank you. Thank you for all you've given and all you've been to us. So before we continue with the service, I'd like to share with you one of my favorites, which is the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Robert was born in Concrete, Texas, and Linda had to say to me, yes, that cement, that, you know, it's concrete, which is no longer really there anymore. He had 6 brothers and sisters, came from a large family, many nieces and nephews, and he was lucky enough to be with all of them a few years ago. He's married to Yvonne. He had 4 children, Kim, Kathy, Daniel, Linda, and 3 grandchildren, Ashley, Christopher, and Aaron. And he was a TV technician for over 35 years. And I don't know if there is any TV technicians anymore, because TVs are so cheap, they're not any good. We throw them away and we get a new one. So he kind of was displaced in a way, but he got to live all of his life doing what he loved, which was going to people's houses. And I remember that as a little kid. People would come to your house to fix the TV, and you knew the TV repairman like you knew the milkman and the mailman, because you usually called the same person over again. And I'm sure with Robert's personality, he got called over and over again. I know that he worked at Alco Paramount and that modern radio. He just loved people, and he loved to help people. That was what he was all about. That was what his heart was about. I know that one of the things that he loved to do was to go to the family cabin in Bucks Lake and spend summers there with the family, and he loved to fish up there as well. You know, he in his later years was lucky enough to still be with Yvonne together in residential care. God bless them, because they'd been together for over 46 years, and I'm always amazed when people are together that long. Most people can't keep it together for a few years, let alone that many years. And so it's a real testament to them and their relationship. And I know that Robert was 88 years old, and God bless him, he got to live 88 years. You know, so many times I do services for people who don't even get past their teens or 20s. But when you really love somebody, it's never long enough. He was a man who had a sincere belief in God, and he lived the message that God gave us. I often say to people, you know, we all come from different religious backgrounds, and I like to think that there are things more similar than different. And you know, Jesus didn't come here to build an institution. He came here to show us a way of life and how to be in relationship with one another, how to care for one another, be there for one another, love each other unconditionally, be generous and kind and loving. And you know what? Robert lived his life that way. That's who he was. So I tell people, it's not about going to church every Sunday, it's about how you live your life. And Robert lived his life that way. He loved to be with people, he had a great sense of humor, and he knew how important it was to have fun. You know, we come into this world and it isn't always easy, and it looks like it's easier for others than it is for us. But I think God didn't create us to come here and be miserable. He came here and he wanted us to know that we can live a good and healthy, wonderful life and enjoy our lives. I think we do more to make it miserable than God does, I think sometimes. But Robert had the secret, and he always wanted it to be wonderful for his family and for everyone around him. I love the fact that he loved to do barbecue, and he was an expert at barbecue chicken. It takes a real expert to do it well. Not everybody can do barbecue. Trust me. You know, he had a huge heart, and he had a good sense of people. He knew people. I think because when you get to work with as many people in the public as he did, he got to be a good judge of character. And as Linda said, he did not suffer fools lightly. He loved to read. That was one of his passions. And he ended up with a whole series of Louis L'Amour westerns that he was given by his neighbor up in the Lake Country. He also loved to read romance novels. What a guy, you know? He had books everywhere. He just loved books. He was never anywhere where he wasn't without a book. And he was the kind of person that there wasn't anything he couldn't do or attempt to do. He was a real handyman, and he never had to call anyone to do anything because he fixed it, or if he didn't know how, he'd sure find out, because he loved doing things. And he was the original Betamax. Anybody remember Betamax and VCRs? He had movies, and he made movies and made copies of movies. He always made sure that he had the latest camera because he loved to do photography. So I know you were left with, as Linda said, thousands of pictures that he leaves behind. So he was the kind of person that always shared whatever he had. And in keeping with that, I want to share with you a passage from the Bible that Linda and I discussed when we were talking yesterday. And it's from Corinthians. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I am become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, and if I have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love or charity, it profiteth me nothing. Love and or charity suffers long and is kind. It is envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself and is not puffed up. And it does not behave itself unseemly, nor does it seek its own. It is not easily provoked and thinks no evil. It bears all things, believes all things, and hopes all things, and endures all things. Charity and love never fails. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child, and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, and charity, and or love, these three. But the greatest of these is charity and love. And that's the way Robert lived his life. You know, he gets to really see clearly now what we don't all get to see. You know, he was a wonderful husband and father, and he leaves you a wonderful legacy. And you know, for me, 99% of the time I don't know the people I do a service for, but I get to know them when I talk to families and through their spirit. And I know that a few of you would like to share your memories of Robert. So who would like to do that?
Well, don't look at me first. I have my picture. It's very short. And you shouldn't have brought up the barbecue chicken.
Oh! Are you getting hungry? Is that why?
No, because it's in here.
Oh, that's okay. I can't say it like you would say it. You know it best.
Robert Lanier Flemming. Daddy, Daddy Bob, Bob, Lanny. He had many names that people called him. I remember the many times as a child Kim and I would go and visit. He always lovingly referred to Yvonne as Dolly. We always had a great time, especially when he would make barbecue chicken. I remember going camping, and I believe he warned me numerous times not to run down a hill with Linda. But I had to do it. I had to give her a piggyback ride. I don't know if you remember this. And I'm sure you can all imagine how that ended up. As an adult, I remember going to Aunt Mari's, and he might stop by, and the first thing he would do was he'd have 2 of those Jimmy Dean sausage biscuits things, and we'd go. But I think the best thing I remember about Daddy Bob was his hugs. He would always just show up out of the blue and say he wasn't here to see my message, just wanted to squeeze my neck. I loved him very much, as I know others did. Yvonne, Danny, Kim, and Linda, and he will be missed by all.
Have a truly tremendous little story to tell. That will, he's just right here.
It's okay.
Dad and I love to fish, and I spent a week the summer with him, and we would count the fish and put them on the calendar, and he would continue doing that in his different visits to the cabin. And we took the boat out on the lake just to enjoy the day and see how many fish we could catch for dinner. And we went into this cove, very peaceful, no wind, the water was like glass, and we had found our spot. And he directed me, since he was the captain, to drop anchor. So I did, right over the side. And it was not connected to the boat. Right over the side. And I was preparing to jump in to get the anchor. And he stopped me and said, "It's okay, sweetheart. I'll come back and I'll get it when the lake is low." And he did. He came back to get the anchor. We got a lot of fish. The rest of what I have to say is just my goodbye. He's such a tremendous man who mirrors my endeavors in my heart, which I may never reach, but I will try. I am deeply saddened. Your spirit and element will never leave me. Your love was like nothing I've ever known or the man I saw you as, but what was here is what I feel and what I felt. I will bid you farewell, holding your loving wife Yvonne, Mom, in my heart and life as she always has been, who has shown more love and teachings fathomable, who has always supported me with love and reciprocated. May you make this last journey feeling the warmth of our Father and your loving family, knowing we will all be together for always. You will never know what is held in my heart always with memories. I love you more than you will ever know, Dad. Thank you for everything that you've taught me and everything that's here, always. Thank you.
This is gonna be really hard. I have so much to say that I can't say anything. I couldn't love anybody more than I love my dad. And I was born a Keller, and I am a Keller. But I couldn't be prouder to be a Flemming too. I wrote this for him on his 85th birthday, and I found it to say again for him. If I can get it out. Every person who enters our lives is there by God's design. The reason is not always ours to know, but sometimes they are. My strength came from you. You taught me of honor, with no way out but through. Of where there is a will, there is a way. That the heart always makes a way. I love you always, Linda. this to Dad to take with him to show his brothers and sisters. Give him his handkerchief. Because you know how he always had and everything. My mom. I asked my mom to let me do this for her today because her heart is so full. They sang together, you remember, You Are My Sunshine. And I have a precious video of the two of them. So I'm giving this to my dad from my mom.
Well, you know, I talked about coming to celebrate Robert's life, but the reality is you're sad, and you're going to miss him, and you're going to grieve for him, and it's important that you do, and that you acknowledge that, because to deny your grief and your sadness is to deny the fact that you ever loved him. And it's the price that we all pay for loving each other, that we have to say goodbye at some point in time. You know, we're all on borrowed time. Borrowed time, God's time. And none of us know how much time we have. Today may be my last day. Tomorrow may be yours. Next week, we never know. And it's not about how many days that we're here, it's about what we do with those days. And Robert leaves you a very rich legacy in how he lived his life. You know, in the end, it's not going to be how many flat screen TVs you've acquired, or if you have the latest smartphone or the what we will be remembered for is how we make other people feel. And Robert was a master at it. He made you feel loved. He made you feel wanted. He was generous. He always thought of everyone else before he thought of himself. And in this world, it's not all the stuff out there that we have and we make and the money and all that. What is really real is feelings. That's what's real. We get wrapped up in all the outer stuff, but it's the inner feelings that we have, that we share with one another, that's real. You know, as we come to a day like today, it's important to remember that all of us are dying. Every single one of us. We're not getting out of here alive. That's the bad news. The good news is what do we want to do with the time that we have here? And, you know, I say to people, if you want to be mean and you don't care about anybody else and you just want to care about yourself, that's really okay. I don't have any judgment around it. But that's what you're going to be remembered for. You know, here Robert leaves you a rich legacy of how he lived his life. And it wasn't an effort for him the way he lived his life. It came naturally to him. That's who he was. He didn't have to work at it. I don't know too many people that you can walk through life and say they care about everybody but themselves first. There's so many more people, I think, in this world that seem to be more selfish than not. And so it's really wonderful that we have in our lives those people that care about us more than they care about themselves. So it's especially hard for you, I know, today to let Robert go, but you have to let him go. And when you think about your life in general, our lives are just filled with letting go, and it starts when we're little. You know, when we're babies, we let go of the bottle because we're starting to eat solid food, and we let go of our parents' hands as we get more independent. We go off to school on our own. We let go of the places that we live because we move to a new neighborhood. It's so hard to let go that we can't even let go of relationships that aren't good for us. Toxic relationships. That's how hard it is for us to let go. We have to let go of the jobs we have because we get a better job or we get laid off. And if we grow up and have kids, we have to let them go, and we don't always agree with the people they pick for partners or the choices they make in life. It's always letting go. And then today we get to a day like today where we have to let Robert go. Because it's his turn and it's his time. But in the letting go, it's important to remember that love, that feeling that you have for each other, you don't have to let go of that. That doesn't die. That is still as alive as it ever was. You know, when you get up in the morning and you go to work or you go to school, you don't see or talk to each other all day. Do you stop loving each other? I know Robert had family, friends that lived in different states, different places. He didn't see or talk to them all the time. Did he stop loving them? And did they stop loving him? He didn't stop. They didn't stop. Well, I like to think that Robert and all the people that we care about who go before us, they just moved. They moved to a new neighborhood. They moved to God's house, where there's a room for all of us. And he takes up a special place. And he gets to be with all the people that he's missed for all this time. You know, as time goes on, there will be special days. Usually it's around holidays or birthdays, and you'll feel sad. It doesn't matter how many years go by. You get used to it, but you never get over it. And it's important to allow yourself to feel sad. I still feel sad, and my family's been gone for quite a while. And after I feel sad, I let myself remember. Would I want them here one more day, knowing that they had to have the struggle and the difficulty they had at the end? And the answer is no, if I'm really honest. And so, what our faith tells us is that Robert lives a life that we can't even begin to imagine. You know, it's a life that's filled with joy and peace and happiness. And he's young again. He can do all those things that he couldn't do when he was 88 years old. And I'm sure if Robert was like the rest of us, it's hard because you find as you get older you can't do all the things that you're used to and that you want to. But that's not what waits for you. You know, it's really wonderful that God created us with memories, because it's memories of the people that we love that it keeps them close to us. And recently I started to say it's wonderful that I appreciate the person that created photographs, because photographs keep the people we love close to us. For me, I get up every morning and I look at the pictures of my family, and it helps me to connect to them always. You know, when you love somebody, what is it that you want? You want the best for them. And you want more for them than you want for yourself. That's what love is about. And that's how Robert lived his life, loving people ahead of himself. So today is not about all of us. It's about Robert. And loving him enough and loving him more to let him go. To be at peace. To find and be in that joy that we all long for. You see, Robert also knew another thing in terms of his faith. You know, in our lives we get promised a lot of things and we get disappointed a lot. We don't get the job we want. We don't get the raise we want. Somebody tells us they'll love us forever and that doesn't happen. We don't get the loan that we want or need. We're always disappointed, but God wanted us to know that there was one thing that we would never be disappointed in, and that was the promise of eternal life. That's the promise that Robert gets to live now, and that's the promise that waits for all of us. You know, right now you can't but help feel the pain of losing him, but you must never forget the joy of living and of him loving you. And that's what we hold on to, and that's what we remember. Please join with me in the prayer that God gave to his Son. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. You know, in Timothy it says, I fought the good fight, I finished my course, and I kept the faith. And, you know, Robert did all of those things. He fought as long as he could to be here, and he finished the course that he and God had decided upon, and he always had his faith with him. And that is another part of the legacy that he leaves to all of you. You know, I really believe that Robert was the kind of person that lived his life that, you know, every morning that we get up, we have a choice to make. We can be miserable, or we can have a good day and be happy. And Robert chose those happy days. Was his life perfect? No. But none of us have a perfect life, and none of us are perfect. You know, I often share the fact that when or if anyone finds a perfect person, let me know, because I haven't found one yet, and I don't think there is one out there. So every day that we get up, we try to be better than we were the day before. And so, because of the person that Robert was, I would like to ask you to do a special memorial for Robert. That you pay it forward, and that in the next few weeks that you do something for someone else without even thinking about it, without telling anybody. You just say that, Robert, Dad, this is for you. And pay that kindness for it, because that's who he was. And I never usually hear that word enough, and it's always very special when I hear the word kind. There's not enough kindness in this world. But Robert brought a lot with him when he was here. And that is another part of his legacy. Dear God, you are the author and sustainer of our lives. You are our final hope. In baptism, Robert began his journey toward you. Take him now to yourself and give him the life promised to those born of water and spirit. We give you thanks for the blessings which you bestowed upon Robert in this life, for they are signs to us of your goodness. Lord, turn toward us, listen to our prayers, and open the gates of paradise to Robert, and help us who remain to comfort one another with assurances of faith, so we all may be with you and with Robert forever. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. God on high, hear our prayer. Let Robert rest, heaven blessed. Bring him home, bring him home. Bring him peace and bring him joy. Bring him home, bring him home. You know, it's not Robert that needs prayers. It's those of us that are still left having to go on this journey. And, you know, we never know what tomorrow brings, what the world has in store for us. So my prayer for all of you is that God takes extra special care of you, that he wraps his arms around you, that he gives you strength for today and hope for tomorrow, and that you remember that you're never ever alone, that God is always with you, and Robert is always with you. He's not going to be far away. So when you need something, you need him, ask him and he'll be there. It's a matter of you having faith, of opening your heart and letting God and him be there. So God bless all of you today. It was an honor for me to be here to do this service for this wonderful man who is just enjoying himself to no end now. God bless all of you.
My friend Tay is gonna sing. It's my mom and my dad's favorite hymn.
You know it, sing along. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fears relieved. How precious was the grace I picked the hour I first believed. When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, there'll still be days to sing God's praise as when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see.
take a flower, place it in the casket.
If everyone could take flowers to put in with my dog. Take more flowers. I bought it. They're so pretty. The house smelled amazing. Yeah.